Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my on second thought on Dumb and Dumber. So this is your spoiler warning. If for whatever reason you haven't seen this movie, and if for whatever reason you're afraid of getting Dumb and Dumber spoiled for some reason, then you should go away, watch it, come back, and we can talk about it then. So in case you don't know, it stars Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, and was written and directed by the Farrelly Brothers. It's actually their first movie. I mentioned previously that this year was huge for Jim Carrey, as he did Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all back to back. And this film is when people were starting to notice that he wasn't just a flash in the pan, but he was actually pumping out great movies. This is when Ebert actually started to love him. He hated him in Ace Ventura, he was okay with him in The Mask, and by Dumb and Dumber, he loved him. And it's true, Jim Carrey is hilarious in this movie, but I gotta give my props to Jeff Daniels because he might be even better. The fact that he's actually a great actor, not just another comedian, helps him to do this role so well. This horribly, awfully dim-witted role he does to perfection. If he was just another comic like Jim Carrey, he may have fought back and forth for the attention of the screen, but Jeff Daniels perfectly pulls off this second fiddle character where he's okay with being the best friend, and he's hilarious in that role. It makes you understand why Jim Carrey fought so hard for him. The studio didn't want him, but Jim Carrey knew that it was perfect for the part, so eventually the studio relented and allowed him to do the first 2 weeks of the filming schedule. They did it as kind of an audition, where if he did well the first 2 weeks, they'd let him stay on, and if not, they'd boot him immediately. And he did great, so he stayed in the movie, and the movie's great for it. So in case you don't know what the plot of the film is, and you care for whatever reason, it's pretty simple. Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels set out on a road trip to try to find Jim Carrey's love of his life, who he's met once and fell in love with immediately. Little does he know that she literally doesn't like him at all, and that they're getting themselves caught up in a kidnapping. The plot isn't particularly highbrow or anything, and it's not trying to be. Just like the vehicle in the movie, this plot is just a vehicle for comedy. And it's a good one. This movie's hilarious, and like I said, I know it is a pretty lowbrow comedy movie, but just because the jokes are stupid doesn't mean that they weren't written intelligently. And they are. It takes intelligence to do stupid comedy this well, and man, this movie's stupid. And you can't even tell when the actors are ad-libbing or if it was written, because they just became these characters. Some of the most iconic moments were just set in front of the camera. They had nothing to do with anything, but it became iconic because it was just that funny. I know it's just another movie about two stupid guys. We have a lot of comedies like that. And I realize that therefore this movie isn't anything particularly new or different. But it takes this old formula of two stupid guys, one guy even dumber than the other one, because there's one dumb guy, but then there's one guy so dumb that he actually thinks the other dumb guy is smart. It takes that formula and does it to perfection. I know it's not Jim Carrey's best dramatic performance or anything like that, but it's his funniest movie. In fact, it might be the best comedy since the 90s. Honestly, I think it's not an exaggeration to say that this is debatably the best modern era comedy. I'm not including the 80s or before, but from 90s to now, this movie's up there as maybe the best. There's no complex character arcs to analyze or a complex plot to dissect. It's just a really funny movie. And what really makes the movie so special is the chemistry between Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. It's on par with the best of them. They go back and forth with these stupid things that just are so hilarious and so stupid and work together so well. When one ad-libs, the other picks it up immediately and they just run with it. And within these two characters, they're so believable. You never question that these characters are real. You're just like, yeah, I think I've met these guys at the gas station before. And like I said, Jeff Daniels is just a fantastic actor in this role. Yeah, he's stupid. Yeah, he's funny. But he's just a great actor doing a role that happens to be funny. And I've said plenty of times about Jim Carrey how he's the same way. He is a hilarious comedian, but he's a fantastic actor. And so he is playing this stupid, silly role. And yeah, it's not a complex role, but he does it. He becomes this role, and he is this stupid guy. Jeff Daniels has talked about how before each take, he would just shake his head so he'd get into character. He wanted to actually be stupid. He didn't want to pretend to be stupid. He became stupid. And that's what's great about this movie, is that these characters, as stupid and as much of a caricature they are so real and relatable still at the same time. We're all stupid in our own way, admit it. There's things about these characters that are both endearing and relatable throughout this entire film. And that's something that I really appreciate about Jim Carrey's great comedies, is he wasn't just making funny movies, he was making movies that had some sort of heart to them in some way. Even in stupid movies like Dumb and Dumber, there's still this heart to it with the relationship between Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. There's a legitimate bromance there that I love. And I know, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself when I say it's not complex, but then I'm listing all these things that I love about it. I'm not trying to contradict myself. I'll say this. There's beauty in the simplicity of this plot. Nothing about this movie is going to go over your head in any way. Everything is blatantly obvious and it's all pretty straightforward. But the subtleties and the genuineness of this movie is what makes it feel so great. And it's exactly why both the prequel and the sequel were awful. Well, aside from the fact that they weren't funny. You could tell that these actors were putting on a front. In the prequel, you had these two random actors. I don't know their name. I'm not going to look them up. But they're trying to be Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. They're doing impressions of them. And then in the sequel, it had been 20 years and they had seemingly forgot how to be these characters. And so they were literally doing impressions of Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. It didn't matter that they were Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. They were still putting on an act. In this movie, it doesn't feel like an act. It feels real. And that's what makes it feel so genuine and so sincere. And that's why I love it. Now, I don't want to try and overcomplicate and try to prove to you that it's a great movie through some sort of film theory or anything like that. It's just hilarious. And similarly, I don't want to just stand here and try and tell you that it's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it and see for yourself. I know a lot of people who refuse to watch it because it's got that reputation, and understandably so, that it's a dumb movie. But then they ended up loving it after they saw it. So if you're one of those people, just give it a try. Keep an open mind and go ahead and watch it, and maybe you'll be surprised. But I think that's enough for me. Like I said, I don't want to overcomplicate it. It's just a funny movie. So if you have seen it and you love it, let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and watch it. You might like it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. I'm Simon from SimonsRants, and that was my rant for today. Do I normally say that at the end of these videos? I don't know. I'm gonna start saying it, apparently.